Whether we are there or not, ITSP Magazine still gets the best stories. Plenty of conferences and events spark our curiosity and allow us to start conversations with some of the world's brightest minds. In person or virtually, Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli go on location and sit down with them at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Together, we discover what the synergy of these three elements means for the future of humanity.
All right, well, I am very excited about this conversation for a couple of reasons. One, Sean is not here, and that's always so much fun because it's going to be a little less technical, and he's so much more operational than me talking about cybersecurity. He just loves that kind of stuff. I don't know what's wrong with him, but
there's nothing wrong with it.
I know. We like to make fun of each other. We actually complement each other quite a bit. That's what ITSP Magazine is about: technology, cybersecurity, society. I like to look more at the technology and cybersecurity, and of course, and society. And you cannot extrapolate one from another. It's all connected. But with you, Daisy,
yes.
Daisy Wong, welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
We will talk about a presentation that you did here with JJ, which was on the show yesterday.
Yes.
And she mentioned a little bit about this presentation that she was doing with you. And the reason why Sean is not here is 10 skills about cybersecurity training that are not IT.
No.
So they're human, right?
Yes.
The human element.
Yes.
And I love that. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Please, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into this presentation.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me
Of
first.
course.
And I'm so glad JJ was here yesterday, so it's a good continuation. But a bit about me. I'm Daisy Wong. I've born and bred in Melbourne. I work and live here. I work at Medibank, one of Australia's largest private health insurance. I'm the head of security awareness. New job. I started 4 months ago.
Oh wow! Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It's very exciting. So I've been doing security culture and awareness for about 8 years. I actually started in the pen testing team. So, Sean being the technical person, he might be proud to know I did start off in a very technical team.
If it feels like he wants to jump in, I know he's listening, so we'll see.
But yeah, I actually started in the pen testing team, but my background is marketing.
All right.
So I did a marketing degree. I did a degree in human behavior, and then I thought I was going to, be in a marketing role. My first role was actually a project coordinator role at IBM. And then my next role was pen testing team at one of Australia's largest banks. And that was when I started to understand the technical, what a penetration test means or the findings. But the problem with the pen testers were they weren't good at communicating, which is one of the 10 skills in the presentation. They would tell the asset owners your vulnerability score, CVSS score is 8 out of 10, and they're like, what does that actually mean to me? And I was like, please stop talking. They were upsetting them. So I was like, please stop talking to them, allow me. So I would translate that, hey, this report means if this application is launched, there's a vulnerability, our customers might get hacked, the brand reputation, etc. And they're like, right, you actually talk English, you speak our language.
Thank you for translating that.
Yeah, so I did that for a few years in the pen testing team. I was like operations manager, kind of I never did the actual pen test, but I did a lot of the reporting and translating the reports. Did that for a few years, and someone said, hey, there's this thing called security culture and awareness, that might be good for you. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they're like, I don't know, you go train people. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit flippant, just like, and at that point, if I be honest, Marco, I feel like they were saying that there wasn't a role for me because I wasn't technical. So the security industry is so technical, we don't know what to do with you. Do culture and awareness. And
that's how you felt.
That's how I felt. So I was like, how when someone tells you to do something, you don't want to do it, like your parents? I was like, yep, no, I'm not going to do it.
Not going to happen.
I'm not going to happen. Then I became a cybersecurity project manager. So I did quite a few projects. I implemented like the vulnerability management tool, policies and standards. And one of my projects was creating the security awareness program. And I worked with a vendor. I'm like, okay. And then that's when I started understanding all the 10 skills. that was required for security culture and awareness to build that in an organization to help employees understand. And that's when I realized, I didn't need to be a pen tester. I don't need to be a SOC analyst to do this role. The skills I needed, I already had because of my marketing degree and, personality as well, and things like that. And, the top 10, I think JJ would have told you, but I'll quickly run through is,
She didn't.
She didn't?
No,
Oh,
but
she
I
must
think
have
she
kept
left
it.
it for you.
All right. Well, I hope I do it justice. The top 10 that we came up with, because our backgrounds are very similar, stakeholder management,
Okay.
collaboration, communication, which is really important. I often say this a lot in conferences and presentations I do. The French aren't rude because you don't speak French. Does that make sense? Like, if you
I'm
try.
Italian. I understand that.
Yeah. I just think, they're not rude. They just don't understand you.
Yeah.
Right? It's a communication problem.
Yeah.
So your stakeholder management, collaboration, communication, project management is really important as well. To do things on time and on budget. And then we have marketing branding, which is my big thing, as you can see, because I think cybersecurity can be a dry topic.
Yep.
Actually, or tech, to be honest, can be dry for people who don't understand it. So how can you make it interesting, branded, have a mascot, things like that? It's not a coincidence. I'm so pink. I feel like pink has become my own personal brand. Leadership and influence. So I often say it's top down, bottom up, and squash everyone in between. Like you really need leadership from high above, so your employees know that they're given the time to slow down, think before they click anything.
Yep.
They're not in a hurry. Then we've also got human behavior and psychology. That's really important as well, because when we talk about security culture and awareness, we're really trying to change behaviors. It's just like any other kind of marketing or even learning and development, right? Which is our next one. Learning and development, how people learn. That's another skill you need to understand. So some people like to learn bite size. Some people like face-to-face learning. Some people like self-paced learning.
Yep.
That's another one you need to know. And I'm trying to think what the other two were, because JJ did the other two.
Okay. Well, I think there is already plenty anyway.
Yeah.
So if it comes in your mind, and then of course we can invite people to go and listen
Yes.
to the presentation and learn more about you and JJ. I'm going to connect a little bit with actually what we talked about with JJ, which was almost like the difference between learning and understanding versus, memorizing, going through the checklist, and actually internalize it, which is when you turn something into a behavior or into a culture. And it doesn't happen over time, overnight. It needs time. And you need to think it in a very psychological way. It's education. And I think that's what the big barrier was. Like, you expect everybody to speak tech or cybersecurity, and people are like, I don't get it.
That's right. Well, Mark, if you think about it, so what is the definition of culture? It's your beliefs and attitudes towards a certain item or behavior, or how you act. You're Italian. How many times do you kiss on the cheek?
Not often when I'm not in Italy, but when I'm in Italy, yes.
Yeah, so I'm Chinese. We take our shoes off as soon as we go into someone's house.
Yeah.
It's not question. No questions asked. I call all my friends' parents uncle and auntie. We're not related, but that's culturally what we do.
Right.
The Japanese and Koreans often bow. Like, I just think it's, and they give things with two hands.
Yep.
It's very rude otherwise.
The credit card.
Yeah.
You go there, you learn. Right away.
And then if you think about that with security culture, it's the same thing. What is the culture of your employees? When they receive something suspicious, is the culture to report, or is it to just delete? Right? And it takes time, because maybe they didn't know there was a report button.
Right.
I worked in an organization when I started, there were two buttons. One was Microsoft and one was the phishing tool. And I'm like, why are there two? They're like, we never noticed. I'm like, well, get rid of that one for me. Because, you want to make it easy as well, right?
Yeah. Of course. So, but let's go back to your story, which was interesting, because at the beginning, you had the skills.
Yes.
You were coming from branding and marketing communication. Your personality, clearly, you're a communicator, I can tell.
Thank you.
And then, but when they told you to do it, you felt like, this I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But then there was that a moment that you realized this is really more important.
Yes.
That like you kind of mature yourself into understanding that this was what was really needed.
So I think there was two kind of moments. I think one, I fell for a phishing email. Yes, no shame. No shame.
No,
okay.
Absolutely
I was a bit younger. It was PayPal. I received an email to say change your password. Someone's in urgency. I was out having.
You freaked out.
I freaked out. I was having dinner with a friend, and I just clicked it, changed my password. I put my details in. Sorry, and then I sat for a minute and realized.
You're like, oh my god.
No. And then I think there was a few transactions on my credit card, but not a lot. I think they were trying it, like a couple of dollars Australian, so not very, like not a huge amount. But I knew I had to change my credit card, and I changed everything. Yeah. And that was the first time. But the really significant moment that really got to me was in one of the roles when I told you I did the first kind of security awareness program. I was tasked to go to train a call centre. And it's actually regional in Victoria, so about an hour and a half away from Melbourne. I went there, and they hired a lot of backpackers and holiday visa people. And I remember talking to them, and they hired, and an elderly lady kind of came over, and I was doing my presentation about, phishing, common cybersecurity attacks, how people can social engineer you. And the session finished, and she came up and she's like, hey dear, I know this might sound stupid, but I don't understand how people can get my email address. It's not like the old days. My address isn't published in the yellow pages, the white pages.
I know, right?
And I was
we used to have so much share in public.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I take it so for granted that everyone knows what an email is, and that they can keep up with Gen AI and the new phones. Like, do you remember when the phones used to be really big? Then they went really, really small. The smaller, the better. And then now we're going back to bigger. And I think I take it for granted, that technical literacy. And I think that was the moment, because I sat her down. I was like, that's all right. Let me explain. Do you sign up? Do you know what an email address is? Do you use it? She's like, yes. And I explained it to her. And I think that moment really got me. I was like, okay, I may not be technical, because I'll be honest, I was constantly told that I wasn't technical. There was no space for me in the industry. I was about to leave, because I was like, well, where should I go? Do you know what I mean? So, and that role in the pen testing team was also made redundant. So it wasn't like I had a choice to stay. But I think at that moment, it was just really poignant for me that, being able to explain these, technical, or not even technical, but just, concepts of technology, how to use technology safely and really make a difference to a person really got me. And I used to work at a bank, and I always said this, I didn't really care how much the bank made money-wise, but I cared that we protected our customers.
Right.
I ended up working in Victorian government for a while, and I really liked that because, I was helping Victorians. I've lived in Victoria.
You were doing like a public service. Right?
Yeah.
So here's something that it comes to my mind. First of all, when we started ITSP Magazine, I am like you. I come from branding, sociology, and political science, and I've done marketing myself. And then we started working on certain branding project together with Sean, and I was like, we're still selling the box, we're still selling the picture of the server, the technicality of it, but what is the problem that it solves?
That's right.
It's like if you sell pharmaceutical, like a drug, or insurance, banking, you sell that sense of security. You're not showing the safe, right?
Yeah.
So
that's right.
There is that thing about communication. But the other one, and I want to ask your opinion on that, is I feel like what you do is very similar to science educator. Like Carl Sagan back in the 80s, where he will go and speak in public about astrophysics. But he will make it easy to understand. And that's a gift. And I think it attracted so many more people that wanted them to study that, but also people to understand basic concepts. And do you feel like that's what is happening now, that people finally realize in cybersecurity that ultimately the goal is to protect the users, or am I being idealistic?
I feel like you're a bit idealistic. I think
Are we ever going to get there?
I hope so. So, I've seen a shift. So I'm very, very fortunate in my current role and my previous role as well. I report directly to the Chief Information Security Officer. However, and I'm not quite sure in America or Europe where you're from, a lot of the times the role sits under governance, risk and compliance.
Right.
That's a bane of my existence because I think, it's not governance, risk and compliance, and it also doesn't elevate the role. Do you know what I mean? If you just put it underneath one function. I went to a conference last week and there was an amazing presentation, and it was like, cybersecurity in 30 minutes. And it was kind of for, people trying to get into the industry. And it was a great presentation about SOC and threat analysts and architecture and all the other functions, governance, risk. There was nothing about culture and awareness. And I was like, dude, what is going on? And I think people still forget. So people, process, technology. I think a lot of people still think security equals tech, just tech. It's like they fight cyber with tech with tech, right? Like, so the cyber criminals are obviously using all different tactics, right? Including psychology, social engineering, But then I feel like a lot of corporations are still focusing on the tech and the security controls, which is important. Policies and standards obviously are, but what about the people?
Do you think it's because it's easier to get a budget for that?
I think it's a lot easier to get the budget, and I think it's much easier to measure the success. So you can, I've implemented a new, SOAR or whatever platform.
And you reduce the threats there. And the people culture, it's going to take
time.
It's kind of like between branding and
psychology
and marketing. Branding may be something that you do, but then people will buy your product in 5 years from now, but they stick with one of your brand.
That's right.
Versus the immediate sale.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. And I also think security as a whole function, I don't know if you agree, for me, I don't think it's a cost function. It doesn't generate an organization income, right? Revenue. And then you've got, so I spend all this money on, so you want money, I give you budget for tooling, makes sense. To do policies and standards, makes sense. You want money to do an event, a campaign about security, it doesn't resonate.
Although in the long term, it would definitely pay.
Exactly.
Because you will have people more trained.
Yeah, that's
right.
So
tell me a little bit more about the presentation. When you do this with JJ, what kind of question do you get? Like, what's the reaction of people that normally are quite technical an event like this one?
So I think it was really good. I think we gave a lot of people the sense of hope that they don't need to go and do another technical degree to come and do this role. In fact, I think it's given them the not maybe the idea or the opportunity, but okay, I can actually hone my skills elsewhere. So you could be the best pen tester, but you're not going to probably have the skills to do a security culture and awareness campaign. You could be the best threat hunter, but the skills you need are communication, collaboration, marketing, influence, and I feel like it's given that I think they just really resonated. Okay, there is a role for me, even though I'm not technical. That was really good, and I think they really enjoyed the examples JJ and I gave, because we've both worked. I think previously she was more on the vendor side, but she sees a lot of customers, and I've been on the customer side working within an organisation, and I was able to give examples. So October is Cyber Awareness Month, busiest month. I started at my new job, and I made everyone wear yellow T-shirts. Good branding.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, even the CEO.
Yeah, and
I hand delivered. I didn't see him wear it, but I hand delivered it. Yeah.
All right. Other example, like one that JJ brought up was for the kids, for example, because she did another presentation about kids and cybersecurity, and we were talking about learning how to get acquaintance to the rule of the road, right? So like you don't just give keys to somebody when it's 16, drive the car. You need to do a test. But you also been learning about, pay attention when you cross the street. Go on a bike, go on a skateboard, and you go on this side of the road or the other. So she highlighted the fact that again, it's a culture building, and it's not just about here, study this manual, and all of a sudden you're, everything about security.
That's right.
So that I thought it was a very easy to understand example. Do you have any other examples that you?
Yes,
metaphors that you use?
Yes, I've never done any work with children. I know JJ is really good at that space. For me, it's more employees and really helping those. I call them, non-technical employees. So if you think about it, accounts payable, or like I work at a healthcare, we've got nurses, doctors. They're not employed to be your next SOC analyst.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not fair for you to employ them. The position description has nothing about security, but then they join and it's like, it's your responsibility. And then the culture from, the leadership down is you're going to be reprimanded. If you click, you're stupid, So I think for me, what's worked is really create a safe environment. I stole this from a friend and I've changed it a little bit, but I always say, deleting protects you, reporting protects us all.
Right.
Because deleting is like...
To help other not to make the mistake that you made.
Correct. Because, because I think they're scared. They see a suspicious email and they don't think it's helpful. So, or they've reported something and the security team's not responded. And I can constantly trying to tell my team, I know this may sound strange, but I said we're a consultancy firm. We need to have customer service within the security team. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, but if I'm going to spend the time to forward an email to you or report something, I want a response. And I think that is a perfect opportunity to educate as well. Thank you for reporting this.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate phishing because.
And it's a teamwork.
And it's teamwork. Okay. You can't change culture by one person.
Yeah. Let me ask you something, like the new technology, right? So now we go back in the attackers obviously use technology, AI, generative AI to be more effective. The defense team use it as well. Do you see a role in generative AI agent on your computer that could help the regular people, not the cybersecurity team, to get maybe a little help in flagging?
Yeah, I reckon flagging nudges. Like just a simple, how like when you forget to, when you type an email, I've attached, and then you forget, and they say, hey, have you forgotten? Things like that. Now, I don't know how privacy works, because does that mean the AI is then reading all my messages, but then it's a work computer? It should be, it's tracked anyway, right? But I feel like those nudges would be really good. Like, like before you provide your personal information, I've seen it a lot where employees would scan their passport, driver's license at work because they think it's safer. Which I can see some logic in that, but also,
But you also do it at work.
At work, that's right, which then kind of transfers the risk to the organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, I think that if we can get a little help and makes life a little easier, it's still, you need to be in power of your own security. There's not the easy button.
Yeah, that's right.
Years ago, I used to hear this comment from cybersecurity people that say, what we'll do our best job when the user doesn't have to worry about cybersecurity. I think it's a little naive.
I agree.
Right? I mean, ideally, but is it ever really going to happen?
No. I mean, do we really have self-driving cars yet?
No.
That's what I mean, right? Like, as in, my car's got adaptive cruise control. I set it and it kind of adapts.
You still need to be there.
Yeah. I mean, we still have pilots, right? You know what I mean? Like, pilots still have very strict protocol, no drinking 24 hours before, things like that. There's two, because they need to be able to manually fly, take off, and I think it's the same with cyber. I don't think, like you said, it will ever be automated and we'll never have problems. Yeah. And I think also will be really weird if we are not aware or have a basic knowledge of the things that we use. And we're kind of there, which is scary. People use a smartphone and they have no idea what's going on. They have no idea how the internet works. Well, we use it, but also we don't have idea how electricity works, and we have it in our house for the past 100 years. Right? Oh, I love this example. So my dad's 80. He turned 80 this year. It took me probably 5 years to get him on WhatsApp, because I was like, Dad, I bought you an iPhone.
Yeah, we need to use
please use WhatsApp. You live in Hong Kong. Like, I can't just pick up the phone whenever you want me to talk to you. I have a job. Taught him how to use WhatsApp, and now he just sends me photos of his letters. Can you do this? Oh, by the way, you need to verify me. Here's a photo of my passport. And it's like, so I feel like it's two-part, right? And it can be a lot, right? You're learning how to use the technology, and then it's how to use it safely.
Yes.
So it is quite hard. And, again, I grew up with most technology, like, I think I take it for granted, but I understand not everyone has been so fortunate, whether it be age or socioeconomic, and technology keeps changing.
Yeah. And I feel like as we wrap up, a presentation like the one you just did here, and I think you can keep doing it forever, because new technology is going to come in. Cybersecurity is going to evolve, but bad guys are going to evolve too. So if we want to still have our humanity be part of the equation, I think you will keep maybe implementing new skills or upgrade those. And I think it's very important what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely in line with what I try to do. I try to educate people, try to break it down to when it's understandable. So what you guys do, it's amazing.
Well, I hope I have a job for a very long time.
I hope so too.
Last example I'll give you is AI, as we've all heard about Gen AI, people using it. I think the red flags that we used to give people no longer apply. So we used to say, look at the spelling mistakes, the grammar, and the tone. None of that really applies anymore, because it takes someone 10 seconds to generate a pretty well written email. So now I'm often telling people to think about the intent and the purpose.
And the timing too.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah, so are you expecting it? And why you're receiving an email from the CFO when you're not in accounts payable finance? Like, for me, I probably shouldn't receive an email from the CFO with the quarterly business results.
Probably not. And if it's something that it's guessed correctly, because obviously it's random and mass, trust but verify.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's right. Yeah, and I feel like everything works together.
Yeah.
So I feel like even if you do click, you're not stupid. It's okay. We're humans.
Yeah, and don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like I'm hoping if you do click, then the technology will pick it up.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so much for having me.
stopping by. It was a pleasure meeting you. We are very happy again to be here and covering this event, Cyber Conference in Melbourne. We hope we'll do it again, but we still have 2 days to go.
Yes.
Day and a half. A lot more conversation coming up. Stay tuned, and of course here will be on the podcast or the video a way to get connected and learn more about your presentation and get in touch with you, Daisy.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye everybody.
ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform providing enterprise-level cybersecurity to organizations globally. With ThreatLocker, you only allow only what you need and block everything else, including ransomware. Learn more at threatlocker.com. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Sean and Marco's on-location event coverage conversations. Please take a moment to give the show a good rating and leave a comment. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues. Come back for more conversations and follow Sean Martin and Marco Ciappelli as they continue their journey toward redefining cybersecurity and society.